Some men cut trees because it's a job. Some men chop trees for the challenges of speed and accuracy. Some men do both. The STIHL Timbersports Series takes us to Mount Shasta, California for the 1990 Lumberjack Show with host Jerry McInnes.
The Olympics of the Forest. I think that's a great way to explain a lumberjack competition. I'm Jerry McInnes, coming to you from beautiful Mount Shasta in the northern portions of California. Boy, and bringing you the first of the STIHL Timbersports Series. Last year our champion was Roland Esslinger, but that's out of the way. We have a whole new year. Everyone's starting fresh. And from Mount Shasta, we're going to go right up the road to Albany, Oregon, then over to Wisconsin for an event at Hayward, and then to Hopkinton, New Hampshire. We will qualify 25 competitors, take them to Nelsonville, Ohio, and find out who's the best there is. There's going to be a lot of chopping and sawing go on here today. Mount Shasta is a great place for it, and I'm glad you're with us.
The STIHL Timbersports Series, brought to you by STIHL. When you depend on tools, depend on STIHL.
Would you just look at the people hurrying for seats to our Lumberjack event today? Actually, we're looking in on the 1990 version of Mount Shasta's annual 4th of July foot race, where walkers and runners of all ages have packed the downtown streets, and overhead parachutes are providing some added entertainment for a crowd of over 3,000 participants that make this maybe the largest small-town race in California. Some of the highlights, well, there's flowers for all the ladies. A few of our lumberjackers are competing in balloons and gourmet snacks along the course. Yeah, I'm sure that many towns have an abundant amount of activities on their 4th of July calendar, and ours has only begun, with our attention now beginning to swing a little bit to just outside of town, where the Lumberjacks are really beginning to move into action in the shadow of one of America's grandest peaks, Mount Shasta. Say, in my opinion, one of the toughest events is the Springboard event. And I was talking to Mark Etchberry, who is one of the best at that event, a little bit earlier, and I thought you'd like to hear what he had to say.
This is what it's all about right here. This is the premier event in wood chopping all over the world. In Australia, they go up 3 boards high. They go up another 3 feet higher. And then they cut halfway through the front, and they come down and bring all their boards, spin around and go up the back and repeat it and cut it off from the back.
What makes it the premier?
It's the most skillful. It takes the most skill, and there is a bit of endurance in it, because the Aussie event world record, it varies from a minute to 2 minutes depending upon the wood. This event, the world record, is around 58 seconds. So they're getting into just a touch of endurance. And most of these other events are, I think, aerobic, and there's no training involved, just technique. But when you add that element of endurance and the skill, and plus being off the ground, that makes a complete sort of a contest of skill.
Well, the finals for the Springboard are just before us now, and I find Mark's comments very interesting. as we watch last year's champ, Roland Esslinger, mark his cut with a piece of chalk for an event that's probably going to last not much more than a minute. And Roland is from nearby McLeod, and he's paired against Charlie Van Hall from far away Saratoga Springs, New York, who's really hoping to do well here today because he's going to miss some of the events later on in the season due to he and his wife expecting addition to their family. So come on, Charlie. Again, we're going to follow 4 events today: 2 power sawing, the one-man buck, and this very tough chopping event, which requires a move up the log with the use of the springboard, of course, and then while standing on the board, they're going to have to chop the top out of that tree. And incidentally, this method is still used in the woods at times. Now, standing on solid ground and making a chop is one thing, okay? But balancing yourself on a real wobbly board and trying to drum up a little bit of leverage is definitely another. And if your board is tilted a little bit too high, you're going to have a bad angle for your chop. And if it's a little bit too low, again, you'll lose the angle, and you'll also lose a lot of your leverage. So the competitor is hoping for the perfect springboard positioning. There is a second on the ground that is coaching the competitor when to make his turn, and Charlie has made his. And did Mark Etcheberry say a touch of stamina was required? What an understatement. We're close. We're really close. Hey, look at here. I don't believe I've ever seen that before. Charlie's block was actually loose first, and then Roland put one of them killer swings of his on his, and it dropped to the ground first, and I'm afraid that's where it really counts. You know, these guys are competing against the clock now and not each other, but that was a close one. Now then, Mel Lentz is up, another one of the big boys in the Lumberjack competition. And he's making a pretty good start here for his shootout with Etcheberry. And these are always classics. I've seen them go head-to-head, I bet you 4 different occasions, and it's always great. Mel is from Oregon, and Mark hails from Reno, although he has an accent that tells me that he spent a lot of time in Australia, kind of sharpening up his skills over there, I guess. Well, I tell you what, all these guys spend lots of time in Australia. And do you want to see the most perfect springboard sets? Well, there they are, right there. And you can see the difference in size of our 2 competitors. Actually, Mel is the perfect build for an overall competitor, but Mark's a little shorter, and his stocky build helps him in this particular chop. And I'll tell you what, a little bit ago, I thought Mark was behind. He was, and he has already made his turn, and he is smoking right now. As a matter of fact, he's going to win this by a good margin. He is finished. Woo, what a chop. Boy, he's going to tell us he had great wood, and I think he did, but he just made a good chop, too, and I'm sure that he's going to be pleased with his time. 1 minute and 2 seconds. That's good for first place. Oh, Mel Lentz is right behind at 107, followed by Esslinger, 119, and our friend Charlie Van Hall at 120. And Mark tells me that he's not a weightlifter. I find that hard to believe, don't you? And you're watching his perfect winning form here in the springboard, and I always look forward to his head-to-heads with Mel Lentz.
Usually I don't have to come from behind to beat Melvin, so that this is actually extra pleasing to come from behind and beat him, because usually I'm ahead and he's storming down on me.
We'll be right back with the STIHL Stock Saw Competition.
Say our competitors are giving a new challenge this year in the stock saw competition. After they make their cut, they're being asked to walk over to the axe throwing area and make 1 pitch at the target that will give them a few extra points tacked on to their stock saw score. Now, it's actually taken a couple of days to narrow down all this competition, so lots of things going on here. And I'd like to take just a moment to remind you that these participants are very safety conscious. And if you use any of this power equipment, please get sufficient instructions and go by all the manufacturer's guidelines in your owner's manual and be extremely careful. You notice these guys, they all use safety equipment. You do the same thing. And we're now watching Eiler Adams and Charlie Van Hall pick up an already started, factory fresh stock chainsaw and make 2 cuts, one down, then back up through a 20-inch log and not cut any further back than 4 inches into the wood. It's a good event simply because everything is so equal. The saws are exactly alike. Everything's the same. Matter of fact, that first half cut was about the same. Eiler Adams here over on log number 1's from Montana. Hasn't competed for about 5 years now, but in several of our finals. I believe that Charlie Van Hall on log number 2 is going to win that first heat, though. The real test is coming right now. Boy, envision this. Your arms are still really tired from that saw. Now you're asked to just walk over and pick up your axe. No warm-up, no practice. One throw for a few extra points. And Eiler's a little low right there. They're going to pick up 3 bonus points, but I know that's a little disappointing for him. See if Charlie Van Hall can do a little bit better. Got a competitor in the way, but Charlie's still going to pick up a couple of extra points. Both those throws were less than wonderful. Roland Esslinger, log number 2. Mel Lentz, log number 1. Big boys shooting it out right here. I'll tell you about a stock saw. Now, the secret right here is to get the RPMs just right. The first time you bog down your saw, you slow the whole works down. So what I'm saying right here is you have to have the perfect amount of pressure put on the wood to keep the saw going to its best performance. And everyone has to stay within the 4-inch limit. Mel Lentz, a good cut over on the end. Log number 1. Boy, he did have a good cut right there. Hey, here we go. Let's pick up the axe and see how Mel can do. Oh, all right, there's a bullseye. A bullseye will get you 5. If you knock the pop can out, it gets you another point. So Lentz picks up 6 points. Woo! Won the saw and and made a good throw. Pressure on Roland right now. He's good with his axe, though. Hometown favorite. Oh, you know what? He got the bullseye right there, but just seemed to barely miss busting the can. That can adds a lot to it, doesn't it? A lot of fun right there. As a matter of fact, I think I'd throw all day long just to hit the pop can. Okay, serious competition now. Cliff Hughes from New Zealand. Boy, one of my real favorites here. And Mark Etcheberry dueling it out with stock saws. Cliff on log number 1, as I said, is from New Zealand, where they really have a history of great competition in lumberjack events. Mark's got the edge in the first half. Cliff is one of our oldest competitors here today, too, but it isn't making him any difference. I'm telling you what, he's in the finals of several of these events. I believe he's picking up on Mark right now. He did. By gosh, he snuck that one out. These are our top 6 in the stock saw event. And now Cliff will take his shot at the target. A good shot. That's a 5 for him. Again, you have to have a blowout to get a 6. He'll take it, though. And our next competitor looking for more bonus points. Could be 6, could be none, I guess. Mark will settle for a 4. Oh, he needed a bullseye right there awfully badly to bring him up in the standings. But, hey, we had some pretty good throws at the target, I felt. Mel Lentz, great stock saw cut, though. 30.11, along with those 6 bonus points from the axe throw. First place for Mel Lentz. Then Roland Esslinger, he also had a good throw. Boosted him up in second place. Then Charlie Van Hall and Cliff Hughes. Mel's stock saw time again, 30.11. Great cut. And then how about a fastball right down the middle?
We'll be right back with the one-man buck competition.
Timber Sports continues with the one-man buck, and I ask official Gary Beecher for just a bit of his time to talk us through the first heat.
This is ponderosa pine that's it's been cut and kept moist and in hay to keep it keep the moisture content real high. These two were cut out of one log and then pulled around, so these people are cutting on pieces of wood that came right next to each other, so it's as close as you can. Yes.
And over on our left here, we've got John Ingram, and again, one of my favorites, Eiler Adams on the right. John is Roland Esslinger's cousin, right?
Correct.
That's not fair.
Well, I don't know. This is his first year to compete, and Roland will help anybody out. So I guess the unfairness is that he's got a little bit more exposure to Roland, and he's trying.
His first big event, and he gets in the final of 6. That's pretty good.
That's right. Shows that if you get good instruction, it helps. And access to good equipment. Now, they're allowed a second here, Jerry. They can oil to keep that saw lubricated, and they can put a wedge down in there so the wood won't pinch back up. Now, I've got to go look for slabs. I'll be right back.
Well, good coaching or not, Eiler Adams from Montana is the edge here. And Gary Beecher, who hails from Eugene, Oregon, and is staying extremely busy today. We'll slow down a little bit later on and help us out again. I'm on my own right now, though, and let's watch as Matt Bush and his second, Charlie Van Hall, get ready to duke it out with Etcheberry. Boy, the same names keep popping up here, don't they? And Mark is, well, he doesn't exactly specialize in the sawing events, but here he is. Matt Bush does. Well, I tell you what, Matt has a problem with a hamstring. As a matter of fact, he had to pull out of some of the chopping events. I would have liked to seen how well he finished overall if he hadn't got hurt. He's going to be at the bottom of that log first, I'll tell you that for sure. This is a case where the taller competitor does a little bit better. A good saw by Matt Bush. Boy, here comes the big boys again. This is going to be another one of those classics. Roland Esslinger and Mel Lentz. And I tell you what, we've got Gary cornered again, and he'll help us kind of describe this war between these two.
Roland got the jump. Both these guys will really use their saws. Both of them are going real close. It appears to me that Roland does have the edge right now. Yeah, Roland's going to come out on top. He got off to a real good start there.
He is. I can tell. He's got a good lead. That was great. That was a great
Boy,
event.
that start, that got Roland pumped up, and that was really, really a fantastic world-class pull there.
Well, Roland Esslinger is just the best in the world at the one-man buck, so it doesn't really surprise you to find him on top today with a 19.32. Mel Lentz is in second, then followed by Matt Bush and Eiler Adams.
Seemed like every stroke went well, no bobbling, and I've been practicing up for this event for the past 2 months, so it's paid off.
Say, have you ever seen your youngster hit a home run? If you have, you probably know exactly what Bud Esslinger's feeling right now. These competitors are true athletes. I'm really impressed with all of them. Hey, we'll be back with our next event in just a minute. Jerry McKinnis coming to you from Mount Shasta, California, and I'm ready for this next event, I'll tell you. These Lumberjacks have really put on a show for all the people in attendance, and I believe everyone's preparing for this next event. So popular, and that is the hot saws. Yes, sir, the saws that are loud and fast, and regulations, well, if you can start it and pick it up, it's legal. Actually, they're homemade primarily for motorcycle engines, and James George and Eiler Adams are starting their monsters for that one slice through the 20-inch log. Whoa, doesn't last very long, does it? About 6 seconds takes care of it. James George is from West Monroe, Louisiana, and he competes in no other event but this one, so he ought to be pretty good at it. A good Cajun competitor. Man, oh man, that's a big saw he uses. Probably weighs 100 pounds. A 250 Kawasaki. And boy, he is through that log in a hurry. Hey, Eilert barely touched the bottom of the log when he lifted his machine up, and that had to throw him out of sync just a little bit. And boy, just a little bit will certainly knock your score off. Whew, that was too bad. That's a small saw that Eilert was using. Cliff Hughes is also using a small saw, a 111 Johnston. And Dennis Harvey's got one of those 100-pounders. He's awful little to be picking up a 450 Mako, isn't he? Tell you what, folks, those saws need to start the first crank like that. If they don't, you might as well go sit down because you've lost. Oh, good cut by Cliff Hughes there. He won that heat. That kind of surprised me because Dennis has got a fast saw. But look, he bobbles the pickup. Double dribble there. Then he sets the saw in the wrong position, and kind of like Eilert Adams, he was really out of sync at that point. It was kind of a shame because, as I say, that is a fast saw that Dennis uses. Cliff, on the other hand, makes the perfect cut. Watch him right here. Everything is really clicking. Next competitor is Jim Taylor, Redding, California. Also a big 450 Mako, and here's Mel Lentz with a 420 Kawasaki. This will be a tough event. You watch and see. My gosh, I said that was going to be a tough event. Whoa, some sawdust right there, wasn't there? I bet that was one of the best cuts Mel Lentz has ever had. Boy, look at this. This is perfect. Big, heavy saw. He just slams it into the wood and allows the weight to finish off the cut. Woo, that was tough. Jim was up against a pretty good competitor right there. He also has that heavy saw and does a good job of cutting, but not enough to overtake Mel.
We fooled around and had a couple little controversies coming up in the hot saw event, and this is one of them right here.
That's right, and that's where I'm put in the lovely position of being a judge.
I noticed your face was kind of red.
That's right. Seeing someone that travels that far over here do what he did. He cut what we would say a clean cut, but the rivets on the side of his chain were vibrating, and on the top, this didn't happen when it hit the ground, and I got the confirmation from the other judges. I saw it right when he first started to cut. It appeared to be a clean cut, but we have a little piece missing. Right in the rule says it must be a complete disc. If it's not a complete disc, unfortunately, it's up to me to tell them they're disqualified. They'll have a no time in this particular event.
It's happened to me before, and it's happened to just about everybody I've competed against. That's something you live, you make a good cut one time, sometimes you don't. No one makes a perfect cut every time.
Well, James George, you're a good sport, and Mel Lentz, today anyway, you're unbeatable in the hot saw event. 4.60, what a great time. And he's followed by Jim Taylor, Cliff Hughes, and Dennis Harvey. And Mel is expected to chop well, he's expected to saw well. But this hot saw victory, man, oh man, that has to be a real bonus for him.
It fired on the first pull there, and everything went pretty good. It got to the wood pretty quick, so she did the rest from there.
By the way, only 7 new trees were used today. However, no one knows more than a lumberjack the importance of new timber, so they and their families planted 25 small trees as a symbol of their respect to the forest. Hey, a great start for timber sports, with our top 4 overall competitors today being Mel Lentz, Rollin Esslinger, Mark Etcheberry, and Cliff Hughes.
Well, I tell you what, I want to thank you for, I know you're an official here, and you had a busy job just staying up with everything, and I want to thank you for stopping and sitting in here and talking with us a little bit.
It was my pleasure, Jerry. Y'all have worked real hard in putting this series together, and I think the whole sport is being advanced here with what ESPN and STIHL is doing. I think there's a lot more to come out of it, but with the time and effort you've put in, I'm only glad that I can help. It's been a real pleasure.
Good to see you at Albany.
You betcha.
All right, all right.
The STIHL Timbersports Series was brought to you by STIHL, the world's largest selling chainsaw. When you depend on tools, depend on STIHL.